Kia ora friends, welcome back to my studio. I'm Gina, and in today's video I'm going to be making the chain room from the Addams family.
I feel like we're children again. Hey, you're it!
And I'm going to be turning this room into this room. So let's get started. So I'm going to start by creating the floor, and to do that I'm going to use 2 layers of 5mm foam board. I'm using black, you can use white, just what I had on hand. And I'm just using a little compass to create the circles. I just sort of roughly eyed them up as to how I wanted them to step down. And then I'm just going to remove the paper from one side of the foam board because I want to carve in some stone effects into the stone. For the trapdoor itself, I'm just going to create it almost looks like a camera shutter. That's the look that I was going for, and then I'm just going to glue these pieces of cardstock onto a piece of mat board just to give it a little bit of substance underneath. And I'm just leaving a slight little gap in between each one in order to give it a bit of definition. For the stonework, I'm just going to use a sharp pencil and draw in some grout lines to where I would like the stones, and I'm just dividing this into 6 pieces as well. It just made a lot of sense with the trapdoor also being in 6. And one thing I haven't done here is I haven't created any texture on the stone. I do want the stone to look reasonably smooth, as if it's almost concrete rather than actual cut stone, or sandstone's reasonably smooth anyway. I'm just going to give it a coat of black Mod Podge. It's basically Mod Podge with black paint mixed in with it, and this helps just seal it up, although it probably doesn't really need a seal on it, although it does give it a really good surface to paint on. And then also I'll give the trapdoor a coat of the same Mod Podge just to kind of cover up those really bright white lines in between. I do want to give it the definition, but I don't want it to be bright white. And so for the painting, all I've done is gone and put a base coat of this sort of yellowy brown, and then I'm just going to layer up some yellow, some sort of a wee bit slightly deeper brown, although that gets a little bit lost, and then a little bit of dark grey, just to kind of add all those layers of the different colours and definition. And then once I've kind of got that, I am actually going over this when the paint is a little bit wet still, so it kind of does sort of blend in together a little bit. And then the final coat will be a very light grey before I kind of give it a wash. So this is just a common theme that I go through, so just sort of base coat, a stipple with layers of different colours, and then a wash over the top. I've got some couple of pieces on the side there that I'm actually going to use to cover up where the walls meet the floor, because the floor is not level, and it's totally my fault because I have created this roof on this particular part of the building which isn't level. So I just wanted to say, if you are returning, welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome. I upload a video every week with everything to do with miniatures, mainly around doll houses or room boxes or other bits and pieces. So if there's anything that you want me to create, please drop a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. One of the things that I needed to do was make sure that I kept with the same type of theme. So this is the room that goes above the chain room. So I really wanted to make sure that I kept in the same style that I had originally created in. Basically I'm using mat board and scoring in sort of the lines in between where the wood sit. And then just cutting down where the timbers would meet as well. So I've kind of gone quite uniform because that's what I've done above. And then again, just putting a coat of Mod Podge over the top. And the reason why I'm doing this on the mat board is because I've cut away that top layer, and I do want to put a wash over this as well. So it just helps seal it all up together. And I've purposely done the Mod Podge slightly streaky in order to give it a little bit more of that kind of wood grainy effect. And what I'm doing here is just going over with some brown and just really lightly touching the Mod Podge with it, just to kind of colour in where the lighter areas are specifically, and it really starts to bring out, you'll give it more of a wood look effect, which I'm really happy with. So once I'm kind of done all of that, then I'm going to go back over with that really light grey and I'm going to just really lightly dry brush the whole thing as well. Here I'm really starting to try and get in some of those grains into the wood, but instead of using the texture into the mat board, which is quite thin, I'm actually just using the paint in order to do that. I'm going to knock it back a little bit with a wash over the top because it is actually quite bright, and it just needs to kind of all blend in together. So I've really used a really quite watered down black paint and water mix, and then I'm just going to go over the whole lot, and this actually helps bring the whole lot back together. And then while I've got my black wash out, I'm also going to do a quick coat over the floor just to kind of help give it a little bit more definition just around the edges and wherever dirt would naturally sort of accumulate. And then I'm also going to use some pigment powders over the top as well. So this is just some, I'm going to use some black and brown, but this is just to give some real shadow into the floor and help kind of give it a little bit more dimension with the different light and shading into the piece. And then I'm just going to use these pieces, which is where the wall is going to go, and this is twofold because I'll be able to put the pigment powder up the side of the wall as well as on the floor, so that just helps kind of blend it all in together. For the chains, what I'm going to do is create some triangle pieces, and this is just a bit of wire that I've got, and I'm just going to bend those into shape. And I've also bought some chain, it's on a roll of chain, and so I can just break the lengths apart to the desired length. So I try and get all different lengths in it. I already had the little circles as some findings from some jewellery, and so all I needed to do was make the triangles. To attach all of the chains, I'm going to use some of this plastic embroidery mat type thing. I've used it before in a couple of other projects, as well as some small thin gauge wire, and then I'm just going to thread that through some of the mesh and then twist it round at the back, and that's what it's starting to look like, which I'm really happy with. So in order to paint them, I wasn't going to paint these individually, and I thought I'll give some spray cans a go. So I did a coat of primer, that was the grey, and then this is a coat of matte black. For the windows, I was playing around with all sorts of ideas, and I landed on just some sort of wooden slats, and these are basically some ice block sticks that I've painted up in a sort of a muted grey, and then I'm just using this very fine point Sharpie to actually add in some nail holes. So as I start putting this project together, I just wanted to take a wee moment to say thank you all for coming along on this journey so far. This year is going to be amazing, and I've got some really cool ideas, projects coming up. One, of course, being the Addams Family Mansion. So if you haven't seen any of the videos, check out the playlist. That's what I've kind of got to so far. I did start this project before I started the YouTube channel, so some of it is not recorded, so I do apologize up front for that, but I do a little bit of a tour of what we've created so far. So this is going to be one room of many to come. So if you've liked what you've seen so far, consider hitting that like button, and if you want to see more of the Addams Family's videos, subscribe to the channel and turn that bell notification on. So this has been such a cool little project to pull together, and I've really enjoyed every minute of it. So until next time, I'll see you then. Bye for now.